Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and it's time for Secret Invasion Season 1, Episode 2, Promises. Welcome, everybody. Let me take care of some business first, and we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up here just for you. And if you like what you see there, please hit that subscribe button. If you can, hit that like button and the share button as well. And if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have up there. I change it every week. Also have all the links to my social media there and all the links to my pages as well. All right, let's get started, shall we? Ooh, I need to do a little reach now. I'm not used to reaching that far out for the paddle. Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Give me enough time to run away, whatever you need to do, pause. Okay. Make sure I put that back there without dropping MODOK off the stand. So, I'm just going to come out and say it. This series is kind of fucking boring. And it's not that I don't like espionage thrillers or anything like that. This doesn't seem to be an espionage thriller. It seems to be spinning of wheels is really what it is. Kind of waiting for something to happen. Yes, we get a little bit of a flashback to, again, the 90s when Nick Fury was younger. And we see the scrolls. We see a young Gravik who watched his parents die, at the hands of the Kree, and piloted himself to Earth. And he watches Nick Fury basically promise that, if the scrolls spy for Nick Fury, that they will, him and Carol Danvers will find a home for them. And of course, that doesn't happen. So that's where we're at today with, what's happening in this series. Maria Hill, is supposedly dead. Again, I still don't buy it. We didn't see the body long enough to see if it switches back to a scroll form or not. I don't know at this point. They could have written her out. She could have her contract could have ended. I don't know, but I'm still on the fence about that one. And then as Talos, takes Nick, out of Russia on the train, and they're playing a game of What Don't I Know is Nick Fury's game that he's playing. And Talos says, well, when you were dusted, so there were a million scrolls that were left after the Kree scroll war that were just floating around out there, other than the scroll, I guess you can say royalty, if you will. And when Nick Fury was dusted, Talos called them all to Earth. So there are now a million scrolls on Earth, probably more than that because, they procreate and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's that kind of pisses Nick off, of course, and he tells Talos to leave the train. Just get the fuck off the train. In the meantime, we've got Sonya Fallsworth, deciding that she's going to interrogate one of the captured scrolls, and the Russian, the FSB, already has one of them, and they can't get anywhere with them. So she ends up cutting off his finger to first verify that he's a scroll, because when she cuts the finger off, it turns green. And she's like, yep, you're a scroll. She injects him with something that makes his blood literally boil, and is trying to find information like where Gravik is and all that stuff. And he doesn't know anything other than there is a couple that are doctors called Dalton. Is that right? Dalton. Yes, Dalton. I was looking at my notes there for a second. And they're working on something to make scrolls stronger. So Gia, in the meantime, is back with Gravik. And I don't know if Gravik actually trusts her completely or not. He's been looking at her kind of weird. She actually accompanied him to the Scroll Council meeting, where they were gonna basically said, "Why the fuck did you set off that bomb in Moscow? You killed 2,000 people, probably more." And he's like, "Because we need to take over. We're at war." And he pushes to become Skrull General. So he gets voted in to be Skrull General. And this is something, again, I don't understand. You have this species that can pose as other people, whatnot. They can take on any guys they want to. They have infiltrated basically the British Prime Minister, media, um, politics, government, all that kind of stuff. They've infiltrated that already. And why do you need to go to war? You basically already have taken over everything, unless you want to systematically kill a species, knock out a species, us being the humans. But even still, if you already, run everything, there are anyway. They've essentially already won, is what I'm saying. Um, and as a result of this, Rhodey ends up facing a council, which is made up of scrolls for the most part. He's answering to a international council, if you will, because one of the scrolls that is posing as an American terrorist who set off the bomb keeps saying, "I'm American, I'm American." He's posing as one of those Americans Against Russia group, and was captured purposely so that they can start a World War III. And so Rhodey, of course, is answering to this in the president's stead, and he's not really given any information out there. The Russians are blaming Nick Fury because they have CCT, closed circuit television footage of Nick Fury. Rhodey is denying it, saying, "Hey, you know what? It came from the Russians. Unless our people can actually look at that footage and verify it, it didn't happen." And he just basically kind of blows them off. Of course, he ends up meeting with Nick because Nick calls him and essentially tells Nick Fury that he's fired. Rhodey at this point is middle management. This is what he's become. Rhodey is a middle manager. He is being told what to do. He is, and then of course, saying it to the people that are supposed to be below him. That's really what's going on. He is the middle manager in all of this. Um, and Nick, of course, is not going to have any of this. You're not sure what his job is. He's a military advisor, from what I understand, CBM. That's what he has been all this time. Rhodey has always been he's always supposed to have been a military advisor to the president, to the White House. And that's what he was when he was working with Tony Stark, in order to control the Iron Man program, which of course Stark was not going to let anyone control. So yeah, he's a military advisor to the White House, is really what he is. Yeah, so I don't know. This is all very, very poorly written, one, poorly thought out, two, and just doesn't flow well at all. Is Rhodey a Skrull? I doubt it. Raymond, I really kind of doubt it. I mean, there are people online that have been saying, "Oh, well, where's his his leg braces at? Is he still wearing his leg braces, or is he not?" Um, that could be like a really lazy Skrull that's not wearing the leg braces, and whatever. I Yeah, I'm leaning against not Skrull, because yeah. The other thing too is what they've been playing up here is that they're pushing really, really hard that Nick is a Skrull. That is what the writers have been pushing here. Is that everyone keeps saying Nick Fury is not himself. He's not the old Nick Fury. They've been saying this now for 2 episodes. This is the second episode where they keep saying Nick Fury is not himself. He's not doing what Nick Fury normally does. He's not the same person, and they're trying to get it across that he's most likely a Skrull, which at the very end of this episode, we see him meet up with Priscilla, who we saw in the flashback. And Priscilla is a Skrull. And he walks into the house like he knows, like he's been there before. And he goes to say hi to her, and she goes, "Did you forget something?" And he goes back and goes, "Oh, sorry." And he walks over, picks up a ring and puts it on. It's his wedding ring, and then kisses Priscilla because that's his wife. So, did Nick Fury marry a Skrull? Is Nick Fury a Skrull that is married to this Skrull? Yeah, that's what they're pushing at this point. Um, Quite frankly, it's fairly boring. It's kind of funny. A friend of mine actually texted me while I was getting set up here and said there was one thing that was really, really disturbing in the Nick Fury home. There was that someone had organized all the books by color on the bookshelves. I didn't notice that. I'm actually have to go back and take a look at it, but I thought that was kind of funny. So Gravik is out to destroy the human race, to take over the Earth. Um, Rhodey's been warned about this now by Nick. Nick is pretty much on his own. Sonya. Oh, that's the other thing too. The scroll that Sonya was torturing for information is now dead because Gravik killed him because, of course, he was dying anyway. And the other thing is Gia. Gia is doing some snooping around the Gravik compound, and she's looking into the Daltons and is looking into the database, and she sees that she actually sees Dalton doing an experiment. We don't know exactly what on, and but we do see that Dalton has picked up some DNA samples, and that's what she was talking about, was some DNA samples. The doctor was talking about DNA samples, and we see that there's a group DNA sample. There is a frost beast, I believe is what it is. Sorry, I've got my list over here. Yes, a frost beast, which is a Thor related monster. Remember, so they've got DNA from that. They've got DNA from Cull Obsidian, which was, remember, the big, huge guy from Thanos's motley crew there. He was the guy that had the muscle, the one whose arm got cut off in the teleportation ring and whatnot. And then there's the Extremis tech, which was in Iron Man 3. So what you've got the makings of there is a bastardized super scroll. That's what you have. And that is essentially what Dalton is working on, is making a super scroll using Groot, Frost Beast, Cull Obsidian, and Extremis. So you'll have plant powers with stretchy roots and whatnot, so that you get the stretchability of Mr. Fantastic. Frost Beast, which will be the ice powers most likely. Cull Obsidian, so you have the super strength, and then of course you have Extremis, which is fire and explosions. Yeah. Olivia Coleman did a good job on this. I mean, she's always good in everything that she does. So I agree with you, CPM. But yeah, this whole thing was kind of meh for the most part. I don't know. Yeah. Um so Emperor Drog is the Emperor Drog's colony is the other scrolls that were mentioned. And why do they do this? Most likely, so if you run into scrolls in the future, that can always be, you know, in other MCU stuff, it can always be explained away that they're part of Emperor Drog's colony, or there are other scrolls that are out there. So, um, and I mean, we don't know who a lot of these people are, of course, at this point. We have Shirley, of course, who is the one that called Talos and let him know what's going on with Gravik, that he's become the general, the war master general, whatever. So yeah, I haven't trusted Talos ever since the first showed up, but that's because I read the comics and I'm more of don't trust the scrolls at all. I think one of the biggest mistakes they made with this series was they told the writer, the showrunner, don't read the Michael Bendis comic, don't read the Bendis series, Secret Invasion, which is a really good series. And he's kind of coming to these own conclusions on his own, which it's kind of like a game of telephone where he's heard about that story, I guess, like fourth or fifth hand. And now he's coming about it from a bastardized way, working with the MCU characters. And it's not working well. And it's slow, it's clunky, it's cumbersome. Unless they stick the landing on this, I don't see this being a great series, quite honestly. Raymond asks, do you think Nick Fury seems more Sam Jackson than normal, like full-on Pulp Fiction style? No, not really. I can tell he's trying to act a bit more in this one. Usually when Sam Jackson is doing Sam Jackson, it's more free form, loud, um, I guess you could say more animated, and that's not what he's doing here. He's actually doing more of he's trying to play the role of, am I a scroll? Am I not a scroll? Am I a scroll? Am I not a scroll? And that's what he's doing there. The whole thing with him, once he sees, once he gets away from Rhodey's people, and he's kind of hyperventilating and holding on to his head and whatnot, and uh trying to show us that this is not the Nick Fury that we have seen so far in the MCU, that this is something else, might be someone else. um I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I don't know. So all I know is that this is just a really badly run series at this point. That's what I'm looking at. But yeah, but we'll see what happens. So what else do I have going on for the rest of this week? Well, tomorrow I'm going to be off. I'm actually going to go and see Indiana Jones and the Search for Relevant. The Search for the Dial of Destiny. That's what it is. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. We'll see what that happens there. Friday, I'm going to do another Is It Worth My Time? I'm going to do the often threatened Mrs. Davis, which is on Peacock. I'm going to talk about Mrs. Davis there. Saturday, I'm going to be off. And then Sunday, I'll do the Sunday edition of Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the week. Any other genre stuff you guys want to talk about, we talk about it. I believe Monday I'll be off as well. We'll see what happens next week. Tuesday, I think I'm going to do another episode of Is It Worth My Time? And that'll be Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And then we roll back around to Wednesday with Secret Invasion, episode 3. Raymond says, I can't believe Marvel had the balls to use AI art in the credits. So, Raymond, what they did is they actually used their own artwork. They basically supplied the AI with, Marvel artwork to do that with. And it looks crappy. It just, the credits look crappy, the opening credits. I remember sitting there looking at it, like, who did the credits for this? This looks like a 3-year-old did it. And then when it came out that it was AI that did it, I was like, oh, okay, that explains it, because a 3-year-old did do it. That's, yeah, it's just a really crappily done. This series is not my favorite series. I would even go back and watch Miss Marvel again before I'd watch, this thing. So far, that's how bad it is. And you know how much I don't really like Miss Marvel. I don't like what they did to the character. I don't like the writing. I didn't like the directing. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. But anyway, with that said, let me take care of some business and we'll get out of here. Thank you to everybody joining me tonight in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video. It pops up at the very end here. YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos of my vast video library, and pops it up here just for you. And if you like what you see there, please hit that subscribe button down below there. And if you can't, hit that like button, the share button as well. And if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have up there. I change it every week. Also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, there we go. I just said that because I'm just really, really tired. Anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go because I'm just bone tired at this point. Thank you, everyone. I will see you again on Friday for another Is It Worth My Time, Mrs. Davis. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may find out that it's being held open by a scroll who's posing as a human, or are they? We don't really know. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again on Friday. Have a good rest of your night and stay safe, be well, take care, and have a good rest of your night out there. Thanks, everyone. See you on Friday. Have a good one.